Global War 36 enthusiast here with Operation No Time to Die, turn 13.4, the Commonwealth. It is July 1942. Okay, I'm going to review some 13.2 and 13.3 stuff. So when I do the captions for this video, I'll tell you when to skip, if you want to just skip ahead to when the action begins on my turn, purchases, etc. Okay, reviewing 13.2, Knights Templar called me before his turn and wanted to double check with me about how convoy raiding worked, and I misinformed him. He had 3 subs that were doing convoy raiding up in C-Zone 14 on the Swedish convoy line, and I told him, roll each one and add a +2, because I failed to take into account that Germany had just researched radar, which gives them a +2 when defending their convoy lines. So it should have been just a flat, he gets a +2, and Knights Templar gets a +2 to his subs for convoy raiding, and then Panzer J gets a +2 for his convoy in defending, so it's a push. And because of that, Knights Templar didn't manage to do any damage to the convoy line during his turn. Reviewing 13.3, there was a problem here in Hong Kong. There's an air base there, and Boston Bruce thought that he could do strategic bombing of that air base with a tactical bomber. And you can only do strategic bombing with medium bombers and strategic bombers. So that air base, I'm just touching this, I'm not pointing, that air base here survived, didn't take any damage, but Boston Bruce can incorporate that extra tactical bomber into attacking Hong Kong. And since that was his surprise attack location, that tactical bomber has a first strike at 7 on the first round. So we used PPE to generate the random number, and I dodged a bullet. It was a 9. Also on the first round attack on Hong Kong, Boston Bruce forgot to roll his artillery. It had a first strike at 2. We generated on PPE a 3. So again, just barely dodged it, taking another first strike in Hong Kong. So that airbase keeps Hong Kong in supply, and instead of the defending units being penalized at a -1, they actually get a city bonus of +1, the infantry class units, and they get target selection on a 1. Reviewing the rolls that Boston Bruce made, there were no times when an infantry unit could have had target selection defending in Hong Kong, so that didn't turn out to matter. But going from a -1, dropping the infantry from a 4 down to a 3, and instead plussing them up, did affect the outcomes. So for example, on the first round, the defenders were neutral, +1 for the city, but -1 for being surprised. But there was a 4 on that first round, and so that was another hit that I got with the defenders on round 1 in Hong Kong. Round 2 starts with 1 cavalry, 2 mountain infantry, and 1 artillery at 2, with 1 boosted mountain infantry at 3, 1 fighter at 6, and 2 tactical bombers at 7, versus 2 militia at 3 and 2 infantry at 5, getting a +1 for the city. Boston Bruce didn't get to roll that tactical bomber, so we added that in on PBE for round 2, and he did hit with a 5. The Commonwealth did hit with their infantry in the second round, which rolled a 4. So that meant that round 3 started with 2 mountain infantry, 1 artillery at 2, 1 boosted mountain infantry at 3, 1 fighter at 6, and 2 tactical bombers at 7, versus 2 infantry at 5, gaining +1 for the city. At 1958, on Boston Bruce's 13.3 video, he only rolled 1 for the defending infantry when there were still 2 defending infantry there in Hong Kong. So we used PBE to generate a second roll, and it was a 5, it was a 1, which is another hit. So Boston Bruce elected to lose the artillery and took Hong Kong with just 3 mountain infantry. Also, Boston Bruce asked me to generate PBE on this attack here in C-Zone 38, where he had 4 light cruisers attacking a torpedo boat destroyer. Knights Templar elected to submerge his submarine. So the PBE generation of the 4 light cruisers was a 1, 5, 7, and 6, and that's 2 hits. Only needed 1. And the Soviet torpedo boat destroyer rolled a 12 on PBE. Okay, so now we can begin the Commonwealth 13.4 turn. I have 2 tech rolls. I'm going to roll for wartime economy. I'm at stage 2, and I'm rolling for improved construction, also at stage 2. And I succeeded. Double check. Yeah, okay. I succeeded wartime economy. I rolled an 11. So that pushes me up to stage 3 on wartime economy. And I succeeded with improved construction. Also rolled a 7. So I'm at stage 3. So that's 2 turns in a row that I have been very lucky and got both successes with the British. I am feeling really good because I'm close to developing wartime economy. My heart goes out to poor Madman Dan, who's still at stage 1 for wartime economy, which is just so brutal because even if he rolls average luck the rest of the game, I mean, he might not get it till turn 19. It'd be 6 more turns. Here it is, turn 13. It's like almost, is it really worth it to get 1 or 2 turns of wartime economy? But he probably doesn't have anything better to roll for. Okay, sorry to go off on a tangent. I guess we should proceed to my purchases. So the British purchase 5 infantry for 15, 1 marine for 4. They will purchase 1 anti-aircraft artillery for 4, and 2 naval transports for 7 each. That's 14. So the infantry plus the marines is 19, plus the anti-aircraft artillery is 23, plus 2 at 7, 14 more is 37, so I don't save any. The FEC have 16. They purchase 2 militia for 4, 2 colonial infantry for 8, and 1 anti-aircraft artillery for 4. That totals 16, none saved. Anzac purchases 1 militia for 2 and 1 fighter for 10. That's 12. They had 13, so they saved 1. All right, combat movement. Let's rotate over here to the Pacific. And I have this 1 submarine in Sea Zone 92. And I'm going to name this next attack the Raptor because this light carrier wasn't going to be in Sea Zone 89. But one of the commenters on Boston Bruce's video pointed out that fighter couldn't make it that far away, and so Boston Bruce elected to keep that carrier in 89. Just to zoom out a little bit, Boston Bruce has done a really nice job of defending his convoy lines. He's got carrier planes on map, and if, say, I go here and convoy raid at 55, then this fighter can come over and hit me the next turn, and he could bring a destroyer in. He's got all his sea zones covered with the way he's got his carrier planes laid out. So in a way, this is a really risky attack. I mean, I've got 1 at 3 and he's got 1 at 6. I do get first strike the first round. That won't save me from his fighter's retaliation. But if I do kill that carrier, then on the next turn, the Soviet sub could come down here to 55 and safely convoy raid there. Because this plane will have to go off map and either land in Formosa or in Kwangtung. After the carrier gets destroyed, it has to basically find a home. So it won't be able to go over to 55. So that's basically what I'm doing, this crazy Raptor attack. It's not that crazy. I've got 1 at 3, and he's got 1 at 6 and 1 at 1. So. But, boy, it would be very satisfying if I'm successful with that attack. Okay, down in Australia, I'm going to have 1 infantry leave New South Wales and go to Queensland. I'm going to have 1 fighter leave Sydney and go to Queensland. Let's rotate over here to Bengal. I'm going to move this stack of units from Bengal into Burma. So let's review what's in that stack. It's 5 British infantry, 1 Anzac infantry, 6 Gurkhas, 1 Anzac motorized, 4 British artillery, 1 Anzac artillery, and 2 British anti-aircraft artillery. Let's see what's next on our list. Okay, so now I'm going to do a strategic bombing run. Let's see if we can get this on camera. Okay, so in eastern Egypt, I have a medium bomber, and it's going to fly out 1, 2, 3 and hit Istanbul and come back 1, 2, 3. So medium bombers have a range of 5. I've got an air base that gives me 6, and so I'm going to do strategic bombing of this rail line. I do need to roll it because I don't know how it works if mountains, if a rail and mountain can take 2 damage, if that's how it works maybe, or if it can just take 1 damage but it costs 2 to repair or something. I'm not exactly sure. Comment below if you know that. I should have looked that up before this turn. But anyway, I'm going to do a strategic bombing there, and then I'm going to take my strategic bomber up here in London and do the same thing in the Netherlands. It's going to fly into C-Zone 25, that's 1, into the Netherlands. It's going to hit this rail and then fly home. I know I should wait till after combat phase and then fly the plane back. I'm not wasting my time on that. Okay, so I'm going to also bring this naval transport from C-Zone 79. It's going to go 1, 2, 3 up to C-Zone 24. I'm going to keep the naval transport over on this side too. That's the one that's moved. These guys haven't moved. I'm going to pick up 1 infantry and from British Midlands and drop them off in Normandy. And that is going to raise up from 27. Great Britain's going to go from 27 to 28. And Germany is going to drop from 71 down to 70. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Do I have any other combat? Oh yeah, 1 submarine is going to convoy raid C-Zone 14. I believe that is all my combat movement. Now let's get to the combat. So we'll rotate around over here and maybe zoom in a little bit on our dice area. Okay. All right, the Raptor attack. I have 1 submarine at 3. And I do have first strike, so if I hit, then he won't get, the carrier won't get an attack back at 1, but there's nothing I can do about the plane. Here's my 1 at 3. Oh! This is a good turn. I got both my techs and I hit with my crazy attack. So that carrier is sunk, and then he has 1 at 6 on the retaliatory, and he hits. Totally fair. I am more than happy to be that lucky. So I lost my sub, but he lost his light carrier in C-Zone 89. If he had missed with his fighter, if I had hit and he had missed with his fighter, then I was going to retreat my submarine to C-Zone 55. That would have been especially delicious, but I'm super happy. I'm not complaining about that outcome. Okay, so I have the Queensland attack where he has an infantry defending in mountain. I've got infantry attacking into mountain. And then I've got 1 fighter at 6. So I've got 1 at 1 for the infantry, that's the black die, and 1 at 6 for the fighter, that's the blue die. I hit with the fighter, and then he has 1 at 4 because he's the infantry defending in Queensland. 12. Okay, so Anzac goes up 1 to 6, and Japan goes down 1 to 46. And then I take Queensland back with that infantry. Okay. Let's see, Burma. Okay, Burma, I have 5 artillery. They're attacking into jungle, but jungle does not affect artillery. It affects vehicles, 2, 4, 5. So I believe I've got 5 at 3 for my artillery into Burma. Hit. So that's a first strike. He doesn't get to attack back. So that means that FEC goes up 1 to 12, and Japan drops down to 45. And that is the outcome of Burma. Oh, that's... Yeah, it's across river, and it is across river, but the artillery is not affected by the river. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that artillery just bypasses river. If not, we'll generate the rest on PBE. Done Burma. I guess I should do the bombing of the Istanbul mountain, because I don't know for sure that if it was just normal clear terrain, then I'm sure you'd do at least 1 point of damage. But we'll just roll with the bomber just to see the medium bomber. 5. Okay, so whatever. I think the maximum. I think the way it works is when you're bombing rail, you can only do 1 point of damage, and it's 2 to repair, even if it's mountain. But in this Netherlands, I did 1 point of damage, and it's 1 to repair because it's normal terrain. I think that's right. But regardless, at least we know theoretically what if there did need to be a damage roll. I rolled very well. Okay, now we've got the convoy submarine raid in C-Zone 14. Red is the attacker, white is the defender. 3. So I do 1 point of damage to Germany, and they drop down to 90 IPP. Is that right? 15, 75, 80, 90. Yep, okay. Now I go to non-combat movement. All right, let's zoom the camera out from the dice. And then we'll rotate over here so we can see what's going on down in Australia. This fighter will fly back to Sydney. 1 militia will move from Sydney to New South Wales. 1 coastal submarine. Is that? Yeah, that's on. This coastal submarine at 144 is going to go over to 145. Now let's rotate over to the Egyptian theater here. You can see I've got these ships that are here in C-Zone 82. They're going to pass through the Suez Canal into C-Zone 81. That is a coastal defense ship and 2 torpedo boat destroyers. Then up here in C-Zone 52, I'm going to move a big mass of units, of naval units down into C-Zone 81. The units that I'm moving down into 81 are 1 light carrier with 1 tactical bomber, 2 battleships, 1 battle cruiser, 4 heavy cruisers, just 4 of them, 1 British light cruiser, 1 Anzac light cruiser, 4 destroyers. I have 5 there, but only 4 are moving down, 1 submarine, and 2 naval transports. So everything from 52 except a destroyer moved down into 81. This destroyer that's in 52 is going to move over to 79. And then in 79, I have an Anzac destroyer and a regular destroyer. They're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 up to C-Zone 25. I'm going to be building 2 transports this turn. One of them is going to go into C-Zone 25. And I just like to have some defenders. I don't think Panzer J's. He's long-range aircraft. He can pounce all over the place, but I don't think he's going to want to do that, but that's just going to be on the safe side. Let's see what if there's something I've forgotten. Oh, the medium bomber flies back. The strategic bomber flies back. Let's see. Okay, yeah. 2 infantry in northern England are going to move into British Midlands. So there's only 1 infantry here in northern England. These 2 infantry are moving down to British Midlands. Okay. I think that might be it for all my... Oh no, I've still got another non-combat. This naval transport that didn't move is going to pick up an infantry and a medium armor from British Midlands. It's going to go 1, 2, 3 down to Sea Zone 79. So in Sea Zone 79, I have 2 transports and a Anzac transport, so 3 transports there total, and drop them off in Morocco. So 1 infantry, 1 medium armor are in Morocco. I'm going to do strategic rail movement. This is hard for me to show on my screen, but I have an artillery in South African Union. It's going to rail up to Transjordan. So I've got 4 infantry and 2 artillery in Transjordan. All right. And then strategic naval movement. So I did name the HMS Coldstone here. It's in Sea Zone 24, and it's going to pick up an infantry and a medium armor, and it's going to strategic naval move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down to 81, and drop off the medium armor and infantry in eastern Egypt. So let's just review what's in eastern Egypt. There's 4, let's see if we can zoom in here. Okay, so there's 4 infantry, there's 2 Marines, there's 4 French infantry, there's 3 French planes, there's 3 militia, a medium artillery, a medium armor is the word for that, 2 anti-aircraft artillery, and a medium bomber. In Transjordan, we have 4 infantry and 2 artillery. Okay. Now let's think that is the end of my non-combat movement. Okay, placement of units. Up in England, in London, I'm going to place 4 infantry and a marine in London. Oh, there's one more non-combat I wanted to do. I want to move 2 infantry and 2 medium armor from London over to British Midlands. Apologize to my opponents for forgetting to do that. Okay, 4 infantry, 1 marine in London. And then I'm going to build 1 infantry in northern England. So now northern England has 2 infantry total. 2 infantry in Scotland, 2 infantry in northern England. In British Midlands, I have 3 infantry, 2 militia, 2 marines, 2 medium armor. I might have misspoke and said from London I moved 2 infantry and 2 medium armor. It was 2 marines and 2 medium armor from London over to British Midlands. 2 anti-aircraft artillery, 3 fighters. In London, I have 4 infantry, 1 marines, 1 airborne, 1 strategic bomber, 3 fighters. Oh, that's not true. I've also got 2 more militia, 2 more infantry, and 2 anti-aircraft artillery in London. I'm so sorry about that. So let's review that again. I've got 6 infantry in London, 2 militia, 2 anti-aircraft artillery, 1 airborne infantry, 1 marines, 3 fighters, a strategic bomber, air base, major factory. Okay, I've got an anti-aircraft gun that I'm placing down in South African Union. And I've got the 2 transports. So one will go in C-Zone 25, one will go in C-Zone 24. So if you look at the disposition of my transports, I've got 1 in 25, 2 in 24, so 3-ish up here. I've got 3 down in 79, one of them's Anzac, and then I've got 3 in 81. One of them is the HMS Coldstone. Love you, Coldstone. Okay, so FEC placement. I'm going to place 2 militia and 2 colonial infantry in Hong Kong. So that will put me up to, I'm sorry, I called it Hong Kong. It's British Malaya. So that will put me up to 8 militia in British Malaya and 6 colonial infantry. It has a fortification and it has a coastal artillery. So that is British Malaya. Then I'm going to place an anti-aircraft artillery in Calcutta. And that is my placement of FEC. For Sydney, I'm going to place a fighter in Sydney. So I have 2 there. And I'm going to place in militia in New South Wales. So in New South Wales, I have 2 militia and an infantry. Queensland, I have an infantry. In Sydney, I have 5 militia, 3 infantry, 2 artillery, 2 fighters, 1 anti-aircraft artillery. Great Britain collects 28, plus 3 for the Suez, plus 2 for no submarines. I collect 33 for Great Britain. Then FEC collects 12, plus 2 for Aden and Eastern Egypt. That's 14. And then Anzac collects 6 plus 1 saved, so they have 7. All right, turn 13.5. We now move on to Free France's turn. Purchases. They have 10 IPP, and they will purchase 1 fighter. Combat movement. I'm just going to do the convoy rating of C-Zone 14 and hope I can get the last 2 IPP off that. It takes a lot of submarines to try to make the Swedes lose 3 Reds attacker and nothing. Okay, so failed on that one as well. Okay, then non-combat movement. Might have to zoom out a bit here. So there is a cavalry down in Nubia, and I'm going to move that 1-2 up to Transjordan. I'm going to move 2 infantry from Eastern Egypt into Transjordan. So I have 4 British infantry, 2 British artillery, 2 French infantry, and 1 French cavalry. 1 fighter will fly from northern Algeria to eastern Egypt. So now I have 4 fighters here in eastern Egypt, 4 Free French fighters. And then the French fighter that's in C-Zone 80 on map will come back to northern Algeria. So no one's on map there. Strategic rail movement, none. Strategic naval movement, none. Placement of Free French units. One fighter, Free French fighter, is going to be placed in northern Algeria. So just to review what's in northern Algeria: 1 militia, 2 infantry, 2 mountain infantry, 1 airborne artillery, 1 air transport, 2 fighters, 1 air base, and the capital. And I might have said minor factory. All right, Free France collects 7 IPP. This is Global War 36 enthusiast. Now turning this over to Panzer J and 13.6 Italy.